This time, I want to open the floor to any questions from the media that they might have for any of the panelists or presenters or for Praise Academy. This is a time when you are free to pose those questions. And while you think of them, let me just take the time to thank TT Response, which is a group from out of Trinidad and Tobago. And they are working with us on this and helped us to put together, help us with the feed. And Sherwin is on, and I want to thank him and Pastor Victor. And why I'm not the last name is slipping me right now, but I'm going to get it before we close. But I want to thank you so much, TT Response, Family Faith Freedom Barbados, right here in Barbados. Thank you for the support, Spiritually Aware Group. Thank you for the support. And I want to say that if you want to get more information on what we are sharing here today, you could go to the MarciaWeeksShow.com, theMarciaWeeksShow.com. I believe that it is, someone wrote it in the chat, and you'll be able to get more information. I'm hoping that some of these slides we will also have available to you as well once the speaker allows us to have them, and we will have them there for you at the MarciaWeeksShow.com. That it's right there right now, so you can write it down where you'll be able to get some more information and contact us there as well if you want to join in anything that is happening. Pastor Victor Gill, they're in Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you to TT Response for coming on board. We are now open for any questions from the media. No questions from the media. I know I saw the media here. Okay. Well, I guess everything is pretty much pretty clear. Okay, so one Starcom Network is saying good morning, and I'm unable to speak. Thank you so much, Starcom, for being here with us this morning. You have one question, you can write. While we're waiting on the media to pose a question, Beverly Connolly is asking, what can we do as ministers to support this cause? And I don't know if Ms. Shirley Richards is still there and Dr. Haynes is still there. I know that Andrea would have gone because she's in the middle of a conference. Somebody's asking, what can we as ministers, I guess, ministers of Christ, what can they do? Someone is asking. Can you answer that? Yes, go ahead, Dr. Haynes.
Okay. I mentioned in my presentation a pastor who very bravely took the step of being the first one to speak out and to call other pastors to speak out. He has continued to be active, and gives some examples of what can be done. He has supported activists in his own church who are working in what's happening in the schools and really any issue that comes up that's of importance. He has gone to legislators, especially in his own area, to talk to them. He became a friend of. He actually met with the sponsor of this terrible bill that got us all finally activated. He met with him. He met with him more than once. More pastors also then met with this man. They loved on him. I think they had a relationship with him. I think he found out what Christians were actually like. And they actually do love people who are experiencing same-sex attraction feelings or incongruent gender identity. Love, not hate. And I think he developed a feeling of attachment. There was an attachment that developed between them. Let's see. He participated in a demonstration on the Capitol steps, he and some other pastors. We had a big demonstration on a number of people who had changed and come out of LGBT identity gave their testimonies on the steps of our Capitol. Many people came from all over the state and were present for that. And so he was very much a part of demonstrations. He probably was a part of the training that the pastors were getting. The pastors pastors went to the state capitol every other year to have a conference and get training in media and how to speak, how to present your talking points, how to talk to legislators, how to lobby. And on the years in between, they went to Washington, D.C., to our national capital to get the same kind of training and meet with legislators there. When they would meet with legislators on our side to bless and support them, and they would meet with legislators with whom we disagree to present their concerns. So maybe 3 or 4 of them would go together to each legislator's office. They would speak to a staff member who would then listen, sit down with them, take notes, and pass along their message to the legislators. They let the legislators know, we're here, we're awake, we're aware of what you're doing, and we are making our presence known and large. And they were helping legislators become more afraid of their constituents and of getting voted out of office than they were afraid of their party. That's the goal with them. So he became active in every way. The pastors organized, not only the organization that conducted these trainings every year, there were other pastor organizations that formed as well. And they went up to 100 pastors, and they kept growing up to 700. The last I heard, there were 2,000 pastors who were organized and working together. Some pastors appointed a person in their congregation to stay in communication with our lobbyist at the Capitol to keep checking on the laws, what's coming out, and then to communicate to the members of the church what was happening and who to write their letter. So they would then all write their letters to email their letters to the legislator. The person who was member of the church who was appointed to do this would make sure they had the names of the legislator they should contact, the way to email them, and the way to phone call them. So then the members of the church would take action on issues that have to do with Christian faith, which is allowed. They're not allowed to take issue on a particular candidate, but they can take stands on issues that have to do with Christian faith.
Yes.
And so that's a lot of the pastors can do a lot.
I see. Shirley Richards, your mic is you've unmuted. Is there anything you wanted to add on what the ministers could do?
Well, I am thankful that pastors in California, I'm grateful for what Dr. Haynes has shared with us. Because pastors need to firstly understand the danger. They need to understand that this is more than just the one issue in terms of the LGBT/trans agenda. This is about the preaching of the gospel. This is about not offending anyone when you preach the gospel. So it's this issue now, but it will spread to offending, to the possibility of being accused of offending others in your preaching, because you have identified certain actions as being sinful. So the long aim of all of this, is really to muzzle the preaching of the gospel. And so it's essential for pastors to understand the danger and to also to band together, as has happened in California there, as Dr. Haynes has pointed out to us, and also to teach congregants. So the wider picture needs to be understood by pastors. If I may just go on to another question which I've seen in your chat. May I just address one or two
Yes.
things I've seen in your chat? Right. What can be done from a legal perspective? Well, now you're all in the process of having a new constitution. Would you want to make submissions that marriage should be defined in your constitution? You know, what about the whole matter of male and female? Should those words be defined in your constitution? Sexual intercourse, you know, so there are a number of things that can be done legally. What one could push legally. This is a moment, you have a moment to assist with the crafting of the document, which will preserve truth for generations to come. What type of arrangements do Barbados, or does Barbados, sorry, want to allow? What type of living arrangements? These are things that you need to think about. And so, as I said, this is an opportunity where you could push for truth to be enshrined in your constitution. Preservation of truth for future generations is essential. A country can lose truth, and we have to be aware of that. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Richards. Starcom Network, thank you for being here. And your question is, what's the way forward for the group, meaning Praise Academy of Dance? Well, what we are presently doing, the first thing we're doing is we are working with our children. A lot of them were left very confused because what they experienced was so different from what they were being taught at the academy, what their parents been teaching them, and what they would have been taught in Sunday school. So some of them are genuinely confused, and so we have been meeting with them. We had a meeting with everybody, and then some have called, and we are meeting one-on-one and just trying to get the home base strong again and focus on the children. We've also written the NCF, and we're going through the process of the arbitration at the NCF. That is what we're presently doing. Yeah. Somebody wants to know, is there a way I can connect with the lawyers who presented? Email would be best. I'm a law student with an interest in religious liberty. Go ahead and message us. Go to the website, themarciaweekshow.com, and we'll be able to, that's the safest way and the quickest way we'll be able to provide you with all the necessary information to the marciaweekshow.com, and we will be able to do that.
Good morning. I have a question.
Yes, good morning.
If any of the foreign panelists are still on, I'm curious how the classroom situation is handled in these countries where these laws have already been passed. For example, if a child collapses on the playground and emergency services have to be called, when you have all this pronoun nonsense to deal with, how does a person handle that? What do they say?
Well, there have been some very awkward situations for the schools. For example, a girl who was being transitioned. Of course, when they're pitting the children against the parents, and they're separating children from their parents and making the parents out to be their enemies, and so this depresses children. It's bad for their mental health. There was a little girl who was becoming suicidal. She attempted suicide in the bathroom. They didn't call the parents. And then the girl attempted suicide a second time in the bathroom, and they thought, well, you know what, we better call the parents. So they called them to say, your daughter is transgender, she's suicidal, and you need to get her transitioned so she'll stop being depressed. Well, that's how the parents found out. They were forced. There are situations where the schools are forced to tell the parents. So yeah, it can turn out to be a very awkward situation for the schools. And the parents are not happy about this across the state. Whenever they find out, there are few parents who are happy to find out their children are being propagandized at school and transition against their parents' will and want to get their bodies harmed. Parents don't like that. They're not happy. And we've got Democrats coming together. We even have LGBT activists who are against transing kids. It's remarkable. People who normally would never work together are coming together to fight transing of kids. And we now have laws in 17 states that are forbidding it, and it's growing. The other side is very worried.
So
Yeah.
that's in terms of the school having to tell the parents. But if you have an emergency at a school and you need to call 911, what is that like? What does the person say? 911, what's your emergency? Oh, there's a child on the playground who's collapsed. What does 911 say? What's their gender, or like, is it a boy or is it a girl? Then what are they supposed to say? Oh, well, she identifies as a wolf.
I don't know how that conversation goes.
We don't know. But thank you so much. Dave, Davida Maynard Holligan is asking, what about demonstrations? And I want to put that to Shirley Richards, because, and I think the reason she might be asking that is because there are Christians who they're concerned about this, but they are not sure that Christians should be involved in demonstrations. So I wanted to hear from Shirley, Miss Richards, who is in our, she's in this region and understand that kind of thinking probably. Do you think that Christians, what about demonstrations? As Christians and pastors and those who love God, can we do demonstrations?
I can't see why ever not. I can't see why ever not. We have had to do so many demonstrations here. The so-called pride flag goes up at the US Embassy or the Canadian Embassy or the EU's head office. We're so used to it that we don't even give it a second thought. I certainly think that all peaceful avenues available to us as citizens, that we should take advantage of it. Paul himself said, I'm a Roman citizen. You ought not to be doing those things to me. So I certainly can't see, it's so funny. We believe we have the way of life, or the way of life that that helps us to make a good life, the ways that help us to make a good life. And yet we are willing to sit back. Others do not have those qualms. Others are in your face with perversion, but we are willing to sit back in the convenience of our living rooms. Something is wrong with that. And so I would encourage people, I would encourage brethren who are hesitant to stand up and go out there and hold up a placard. I'd encourage them to rethink and just remember that it could be that if you don't do this now, in the future, you will be penalized. Right now, you can do that. Right now, you can stand up. Don't take it for granted that this is something you will always be able to do. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's a freedom which we have. We have to exercise our freedoms. If you don't exercise your freedoms, these freedoms will be taken away. Don't ever forget that. Freedoms have to be exercised, or else they're taken away.
That's right. It's an opportunity to take the church outside the walls, its walls, and go out and speak to the world.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Dr. Haynes. Someone is asking, can this group lobby governments? This is Nicholas Sykes. I'm not sure which country you're from. Actually, I'm going to ask if everybody could just say which island you're from. I know there are Jamaicans here, Trinity's here, Anguilla, Barbados, of course. If you can just say which country you're logging on from. This person is asking, can this group lobby governments to prevent the dangerous intended takeover of nations by the WHO or the UN next year? I would put that to Dr. Haynes, because I know in the US you guys do a lot of lobbying, right?
Yes. Okay. Can you say that question again, please?
Can this group lobby governments to prevent the dangerous intended takeover of nations by the WHO or the UN next year? That's the question.
Well, my understanding, which may not be perfect with regard to the UN, is that your government will have a vote as to whether to go along with what the UN is trying to do as a global takeover, as does our country. And we are lobbying our legislators not to allow our government to be signed on to that. I don't know how you would, I don't know how to take lobbying to the UN exactly. That's a very good question. I believe that a person who would be excellent in advising about that would be Sharon Slater at Family Watch International.
Yes. Okay. Well, we'll try to get some more information on that. I don't know if Miss Richards would Mrs. Richards want to add anything to that, Shirley Richards?
Yes, well, I think Bishop Sykes from Cayman, I think he's referring to okay, so there is a UN, there is a WHO, a number of groups, and we have ACP EU treaty, which is supposed to be signed in November. So there are all these international, there's a push from different international agencies are pushing this type of agenda on us as nations. I think our first stop has to be with our governments. We have to help our governments to stand internationally and to help them to know that we as a people, we are not for these things. So please do not sign off at the UN. Please do not sign off at WHO. Please do not sign off on the ACP EU treaty. So I think that has to be the first stop. We're citizens of particular countries. We have to make our governments know that we are not there. And that we do not want them to sign in favor of these particular treaties or agreements. So that's the first step with our local governments.
Local governments. Thank you so much. We're going to just take the two more really quick ones, and then we're going to end this session. And you can have access to the recording on the Africa Bridge TV network, Africa Bridge TV network on YouTube. Okay, and you'll be able to have access to it. Okay, so let's go over to Dave and Davida Maynard Halligan, who was in Poland with us. Welcome, Davida.
Hello, good morning to everyone. Barbados, the wider Caribbean. Special good morning to you, Dr. Laura Haynes. Lovely to see you. Good morning to Shirley Richards. Thank you so much for presenting, ladies, women of God, and thank you, Marcia and Dave, for your valor. My question is, especially going on the heels of the last thing that Miss Shirley Richards spoke, what can we do if we have already signed the conventions? Can we not now, having signed these conventions, putting reservations in our nations to say we don't want to go any further in certain areas of these conventions because they now mean things they didn't mean before? What are our options in terms of pushing back against the international lobbyists and treaties and so forth, particularly the treaties and conventions? Thank you.
I certainly wish my colleague, Miss Philippa Davis, was here to take that question. That's a serious question in terms of international law. Firstly, so then
I'm
what
here,
really,
Shirley.
are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, Philippa is here. Is that what
But you,
she said?
you go ahead, Shirley, and I'll see
So
if you need me
Philippa
to
is here.
supplement.
Could you ask Philippa Davis to take that question, please? I just saw her.
Okay, let's see if we can locate her. Is that Black
Yeah,
woman
there
Joy?
you are.
No, I'm speaking. I'm right here. Hi, Miss Weeks.
Okay, all right, go right ahead.
All right, so the question is, having signed, what can we do? We are still sovereign nations, and we can influence how our country adopts or interprets the language if it is in conflict with our constitution and other laws. We would not want to adopt any international principles that are going to injure the exercise of our freedoms in our nation, or that would trample on our sovereignty. But it's important for the citizens then to speak up and to lobby and to speak to government who represents them in the international fora to say this international principle or this obligation that you have taken on is going to affect us negatively at home, and therefore we cannot adopt it, we cannot accept it, we need to enter a reservation, or it needs to be changed. We are not obliged to take on these international obligations. It's a community of nations that have come together in the UN and other international bodies to work together for the good of the world. But then as independent nations, sovereign nations with the right to self-determination, we must decide what is right for us at home. And so really it is about speaking up and taking action. Thanks so much, Ms. Weeks.
So we'll just take the very last one is Andrew Chin. Go ahead, and that's going to be the very last one.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I have well, I was the one asking the questions about the legal from a legal standpoint because I'm actually studying law in Cave Hill. But I'm curious about associations that perhaps I could explore that's centered on religious liberty. I was advised that some time ago that a lot of religious liberty issues do arise in employment law cases dealing with unfair dismissal, discrimination on religious grounds, etc. So I was just curious, in order to explore that area and to be more involved and engaged, are there associations that if is not established, or if there is an association that is not established, can we establish one? So that's more what I would like to find out more about. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Andrew.
Yes,
Go
may I
ahead.
just
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Chin.
respond to that? Mr. Chin, I'm so glad you're in the meeting this morning. You are a law student. We look forward to you graduating and becoming a part of this process. We look forward to you assisting with raising up an entity which will be defending employees and others in the name, or let me not say in the name, on issues concerning religious liberty. I have your email. I will try to keep in touch with you. We just really want to wish you all the best. We want to ask you to study hard. We want to ask you to get a first-class degree. And we're also asking you to keep your faith while there at that institution. But we look forward to you coming out, joining the battle, and also helping to raise up such an entity which will help to defend Christians in this age. All right? against all the issues that we see now and all the issues to come. Thank you. That's all I have to say. But I'll keep in touch with Mr. Chin.
Okay, that's wonderful. I think that's a great note to end on. We have a young lawyer wanted to know how can we take up this fight, and that is really, really great. I just want to take the time now to thank everybody for coming on. Thank you, Dr. Laura Haynes, for taking up the challenge. We accosted you in the airport on our way from Poland, and you agreed to be here this morning and did a splendid job. Shirley Richards, I know, I'm always calling upon you, and I'm so glad that you answered the call and came on today and educated us. Hearing it from the region, it does a whole lot in terms of motivating us. And I thank you so very much. Of course, the warrior, that lioness, Andrea Williams, who had to leave early because she had another engagement, she was actually at a conference. We just want to thank her so very much in her absence for being here with us and for sharing with us. I want to thank my husband Dave Weeks for the support, all the technical support, and just praying for me, everything that he's been doing. Thank you so much, Dave Weeks. I love you so much. Lisa Niles, who did all of the the posters and did all the graphics and written so many things, done so many things. Lisa, thank you so very much. And Sherwin, who made sure that we were connected to YouTube. Thank you for coming on. He's from Trinidad, and we work very, very well from TT Response. Thank you so very much, Davida, Maynard Holligan, for just your encouragement, Pastor Ferdinand Nichols, and our Pastor O'Brien, who did our opening prayer this morning. We say thank you, Aubrey O'Brien. Thank you so much. They're from Crab Hill Wesleyan Holiness Church. And Veronica Evelyn, the birthday girl. I know she's leaving this today, and she's going to be so smiling ear to ear that this was a present. She didn't have to organize it, and it happened. We love you, Pastor Dr. V, and thank you for your work. And if you're interested in joining the movement, you want to continue working on this, go to the marciaweekshow.com and you can sign up on the website. It's right there in the chat. The marciaweekshow.com, so you can know what we're going to do, because we heard something today and we want to make sure we act on it, on what we've heard. And the very last thing I will say to you, 1 Samuel 30, it's the last thing. And if Lisa could just put up that scripture on the screen, because it is when David went home and recognized Dr. Laura that all of his wives were taken, the children were taken. And David, he said he inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? After you've heard this today, I'm asking you to inquire of the Lord. David inquired when his family was ravaged, was taken from him. He inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. And David didn't just stand there after getting that word. He got a word from God after prayer, after realizing the danger Samuel's in. We've heard what we heard today, and we recognize the danger that we're in. And are we going to inquire of the Lord? And after we've heard what the Lord said, what are we going to do? Verse 19 said, and there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil nor anything that they had taken to them. David recovered all. Barbados, Caribbean, are we going to recover all? Are we going to go pursue them in the name of God and overtake them and recover our family values? Are we going to do that? Thank you so very much for joining. Check the marciaweekshow.com for more information. God bless you all. Have a good afternoon, Saturday afternoon. God bless you. Bye-bye. Dr. Laura, so much. You're a trooper. I know it was very early for you there.
The sun rose. Maybe that's a sign. Some people said in the chat that they would like to have the slides.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
happy for them to have the slides if you are, depending on how what you wish.
Oh, yes. I mean, the more that is better, good for them because they could take this and share it in their churches and speak with groups, etc. So that's fantastic. So if you send me, we'll put it on the website and they can go there. You know, it's easier. It's one place and they will be able to get it.
Fine. Okay, that's good. I'll add a few more slides that I may have left out a few slides of information that I covered in the Q&A. I'll go back and look and see if that happened. If so, I'll add them back. And then at the end, I have some resources, links, you know, to good resources
Yes.
that they can use. So I'll be happy to send that to you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on. I know you're going to get the rest of your sleep now.
Yes, I am.
And keep us in your prayers.
Yes, and you know, you have so much talent in Barbados. You have you're blessed. You got people who are gonna take up the challenge and have the knowledge and skill to lead you. I'm very happy for you. Very happy about it.
Praise God. With God's help, we shall conquer. We shall overtake and recover all.
Cover all. That's right. I feel that's happening in America, and
Oh, wow.
Yes, I believe it can happen in Barbados.
We're encouraged when we see what's happening. I go on and I check, and now with connection, you'll be able to give us blow by blow as it is going on to encourage us, and we're doing this together.
So I'll just say goodbye and God bless, and I'll email you the slides.